All right, so I'm back. I have some good news and some not so good news. The good news is that after going to my follow-up visit after my biopsy last week, I was able to get a diagnosis as far as what's causing the alopecia. So alopecia, for those of you guys who don't know, is essentially a general term that just means hair loss. So alopecia, to me, in my opinion, is less of a diagnosis and more of a observation when you're looking at it. So there are so many different things that can cause alopecia, be it diet, be it sometimes people stress, sometimes people may have other reactions to medications that can cause alopecia, which is hair loss. But there are different subcategories of alopecia, which brings me to the good news, which is that they found what exactly was causing it. The not so good news is, unfortunately, I have a type of alopecia. It's called centrifugal cicatricial alopecia. Say that 10 times fast, right? But if you say CCCA, most people, especially dermatology people, will know what you're talking about. So it's a type of alopecia that is popular in the African American community. Not to say that other ethnicities don't also have this type of alopecia, but it's more common with African American people. It also, people may call it hot comb alopecia, but essentially what it is a degeneration of the follicles, which is bad because no follicles means no hair, which means that for the patches that I have where the hair has already fallen out, it's not going to come back. So that's not so good. But at the same time, knowing that you have the diagnosis, it's always better to know. Like, I can't stress that enough to anyone, my friends, my family, people I see in the clinic, anyone who is unsure of what is going on. When you notice things are different with your body, it is so important to figure out what's going on with that and be aware, and not to just take it as, oh, well, maybe it's just happened for that and write it off. No, when something's wrong, seriously, go and check it out. Look into that. Don't just let it go. Luckily for me, I was, I did put it off. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't, but a lot of people have this CCCA or different types of alopecia, and they let it go on for several years. And at that point, you may not be able to get anything that can possibly preserve the hair that you currently have. So if you let it go on for several years, you're just going to have to, deal with the fact that you'll never get that hair back, at least not naturally. Of course, you could do hair plugs, wigs, everything else like that. But as far as preserving your hair in its natural form. So with CCCA, when I first went to the doctor's office and I was telling him, I was like, hey, look, my hair is falling out. I don't know what's going on. I thought it was stress. I wrote that off, and I'm like, well, I'm not really stressed right now. Then I was like, well, maybe it's my diet. Yeah, that's true. I haven't really been eating a lot of meat, so maybe my protein's low. I'm not a big vegetables and other type of things that can also give you protein. So I was like, well, maybe it was the diet, but I've been really good about taking like my multivitamins and things like that to supplement. And I was like, I know that that's not right. Ignore that. But so anyhow, when I go there and I'm like, okay, I need to see what is going on with me. Something isn't right. And so with CCCA, the biggest problem with that is that a lot of people don't seek treatment. Going back to me getting off topic, a lot of people don't get treatment for it until it's very late in the game. A lot of people come in their 30s and 40s, is what my dermatologist was telling me. He was like, he normally doesn't see people in their early 20s like myself who are coming in, complaining of hair loss. So one thing about it is, again, if you notice things aren't right, go and get it checked out. If it means getting a blood panel done where they're looking at all your bloods and making sure that everything's fine, if it means going in and getting a biopsy, seriously, please get it done. Because even with me, luckily in my case, I guess I could say it's not as bad. Although with alopecia, a lot of it as far as the interpretation of severity isn't just what it physically looks like. It's a matter of how it feels to the person who's experiencing it. So for someone who has like all of their hair missing, someone who might have the piece right here in the front that you see all the time, it might feel equally as bad to both of them. But it is very much dependent on that person. As far as alopecia, I did some research about it. Treatments for it they have different types of topical creams, they have different types of maybe steroid injections, because what happens with the follicle is sometimes the area might get really inflamed, so then that can kind of progressively let those follicles be dying out because they're not getting the nutrients that they're supposed to be getting, so they're going to be falling out more. So by taking steroids, be it injections or oral steroids or topical creams, those things can help to decrease the inflammation. My physician also prescribed like an antibacterial as well, and some people use say like Rogaine essentially is what it is. I think the active ingredient in that is minoxidil, and what that does is, it's Rogaine for men, Rogaine for women. They're different. If your women don't buy the men one, if your men don't buy the women one, because I think it kind of has to deal with your hormones as well, so you don't want to mess that up more than it has to be. But that was also something that was suggested to me. So anyhow, this is day 1. Just got the treatments today. I'll be starting that like now when I get off this video, and hopefully see something within the next couple months. Treatment of alopecia isn't something that happens overnight. It usually doesn't take overnight for it to start developing, so you can imagine that it will take a little bit more time to start replenishing the hair that still has a little bit of life to it, and to give it that extra boost to continue to grow and to hang on there. So I plan on recording my journey, and hopefully in the next couple months we'll see some good things. Trying to stay optimistic for anyone else who may be watching this and is in a similar type of position. Of course, like when you first get the news, you're like, oh my gosh, head sinks, like, no, it's never coming back. What do you mean there's no cure? There has to be a cure. No miracle pill, no miracle drug, no nothing, seriously. So one thing I would just say, a little bit of advice, is to stay up, stay optimistic. You don't want to stress yourself out more than what you're already going through. Like, as far as me, I know a lot of my breakouts with my hair have been related to, greatly stressful events. Like, so you don't want to sit there and do anything more to let the situation progress, because you want it to be moving into your direction, not on the direction that your hair might be wanting to go. So that's my little bit of advice. I'll let you guys know, maybe give you guys an update with my hair regimens and things like that I do. And if you have any questions, just send it to me and I'll be glad to answer them. Have a great day.